Hello and welcome. Good morning, good evening, good night from wherever you're joining us in the world today. And welcome to today's webinar on harmonizing expense management, a unified approach across multiple sites. My name is Michael. I'm head of consulting here at Mobilexpense, and I'm also one of the leaders of our customer success department. So I'm happy to see we have so many people joining us today. For those of you who don't know who Mobilexpense is, and some of you who are customers already know who we are, and some of you who don't, Mobilexpense is one of Europe's first expense management solution providers, where we've been delivering, some high-tech solutions to our customers of all different industries and sizes. We are a fintech company. We've future-proofing ourselves using the latest technologies, and we help our clients through the spend management ecosystem. In today's webinar, we're going to delve into why a harmonized expense management system is important. And expense management isn't just about numbers and processes and so on, but it's also, or the number of expense reports, but it's also about ensuring compliance and optimizing your operational efficiencies. In today's globalized economy, we have companies that have sites or subsidiaries in different parts of the world where they have unique needs, different business rules, regulations, currencies, and so on. And so having a harmonized environment is important, not only for consistency, but also for efficiencies, compliance, and ensuring proper visibility. So as we mentioned at the beginning, in today's webinar, we'll delve deeper into why having a harmonized expense management solution is important. We will also look at a real-life case study to learn firsthand how having a harmonized system really helped an organization achieve this improved accuracy and enhanced employee satisfaction and experience some cost savings. And we will also share some best practices with you as well. During this webinar, we have a Q&A session, so I invite anyone who has questions, please enter those questions in this Q&A. We will be scanning it throughout the session, and we have a dedicated period at the end of the webinar for questions. So today we have two speakers who are here with us. So one is Lieve the Herdt and Andrés Correa. Lieve is a senior consultant at Mobilexpense, and she brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to the field of expense management. She has over a decade of experience and has been very instrumental in helping many of our customers achieve their specific goals and objectives when it comes to expense management. Lieve's dedication and insights have led to remarkable success stories, especially with many of our global customers. So welcome aboard, Lieve. Welcome to the webinar.
Thank you.
And Andrés is a seasoned product manager at Mobilexpense, specialized in app-to-app integrations that empower a unified expense management ecosystem. Through his almost a decade within the company, Andrés has become a central figure in fostering seamless connections between applications, streamlining the expense management experience for mid-market and enterprise customers. So in this webinar, Andrés will leverage his expertise and provide valuable insights into how a harmonized expense management solution can really help you optimize your, let's say, usability of Mobilexpense solutions. So welcome, Andrés, and welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Okay. So to get things started, maybe I'll start with you, Lieve. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey at Mobilexpense?
Yes. So I'm part of the Mobilexpense family for more than 10 years, and I worked in different positions in the company. So I started in the service delivery team, where I got familiar with the application at the first. And I also got to learn a lot about the different setups, the business needs from our customers. Here I also saw firsthand the difference between customers that were working in a harmonized way with our application and customers that didn't have a harmonized landscape. These insights were very useful when I moved after a few years to the project and implementation team, where I had to lead projects from start till the end. I worked with several customers that wanted to have a global rollout, and I helped them to define a standard solution and roll it out to their entities. Since the last few years, I'm part of the consultancy team, where I can also use my knowledge to advise the customers on harmonization and its benefits.
Great. Thank you very much, Lieve. I think these insights will help us a lot in this webinar. And Andrés, tell us a little bit about your journey at Mobilexpense, because you've also been here for almost a decade as well.
Almost a decade, indeed. So I think I joined Mobilexpense after Lieve, 1 year after, but I joined the product team. And back in the day, the product team was a new team, and we used to be the middle point between customer success or the implementation managers looking to integrate with a dedicated system on behalf of the client, and as well the developers. So in that position, I was able to understand the challenges that the implementation team were having when trying to implement our solutions or integrate it with another systems. And as well, I started seeing what a harmonized approach or a harmonized expense management could help in order to unlock the capabilities of our solutions, and of course, empowering our clients to foster a better expense management ecosystem. So I have learned a lot with the support of customer success, with the implementations and the product developments that we have done so far. So I hope that we can have a nice conversation today to see how you can empower your expense management tool if, of course, the expense management process is harmonized.
Indeed. So it's a pleasure to have both of you and over almost 20 years of experience here so that we can share with our audience. Lieve, back to you though. Can you tell us a little bit why, based on your experience and almost a decade here, why do you see that having a harmonized or standardized solution is useful for customers?
Well, maybe we can start by defining what we see as a harmonized or standardized approach. So it actually starts all by defining a standard solution that can be used for all entities in the group. So it's a list of categories that you need, expense policies and their rules, accounting file template, data feeds, and so on. And that should all be aligned. We also call this the blueprint. Of course, every country has its own legal settings for allowances and mileage, but that part we don't consider for the blueprint. This blueprint will be used as a base for the rollout of all your entities. You want to set up in Mobilexpense. By using such a harmonized approach, rollouts will go smooth and entities can be implemented faster, which means less time needs to be spent from the start to the go live of the project. Once the entities are configured, it will be a lot easier to maintain the different setups because they are all aligned. And in case changes are happening in the company and it has an impact on the expense policy, you also need to adapt that in the tool. But it saves you time because every setup is the same, so you know already where you need to change it, and you don't need to find it out for every setup separately. When you're rolling out multiple entities following a standard solution or approach, the adoption rate will also, or by the local people, will be higher, as you can show them how it went for the other entities. You can show them the benefits and how the other local business handled the rollout. When the adoption of the Mobilexpense tool will be accepted easier, there's also a more positive attitude when they introduce it to the employees who have to use it in the end, which makes, of course, also happy employees. If you're already organized in a centralized way, it really makes sense that you define also for Mobilexpense a blueprint and work here as well in a harmonized way.
Thank you. These are great insights. And you started mentioning some benefits, Lieve, as you were saying, why it is important. Maybe could you elaborate a bit more on what are some of the benefits, some of the other benefits?
Yes, so an additional benefit is that when all your setups are aligned, you can run reports on group level, for example. So these reports can give you a better insight in spending trends and patterns. And based on these insights, you can make better decisions, or the management can make better decisions related to budget management, purchasing, and so on. For example, you can get a report on all the transactions that your employees made, and you can go into the details to see in which hotels employees are staying during their business trips, and this outcome can help you to negotiate better conditions with these hotels, for example. Not only this reporting give you better insights, but it can also help your financial department to get a better visibility on what's spent, so that they can use this to create some forecastings and have a better view on the cash flow. Also, can these insights be used for not just the one for the financial department, but all the insights can be used to further fine-tune and optimize the blueprint solution. And then, yeah, like I mentioned before, if you want to apply these changes, it will go faster. You will gain time and money, of course, and as well when you implement a standard way of working. Also, when your company grows and you over the years and you acquire additional entities, the solution can easily be expanded to these new acquisitions.
Great. Thank you for those insights, Lieve. I think these are really important ones. Andrés, just a question for you, though. How do you see the adoption of a harmonized expense management system empower organizations to leverage the full potential of, let's say, mobile expenses capabilities?
That's a really good question, Michael. And I think, along with what Lieve has mentioned, when we talk about harmonization of the expense management process, we don't only talk about streamlining expense workflows or reducing errors or manual errors, because we are in a digital world now, and reinforcing the expense policy for compliance purposes. But we see that when a harmonized approach happens, an expense management solution like Mobilexpense can become the central hub for end-to-end expense management. And how do we see this? First of all, it's easier to seamlessly integrate with different applications that are part of the expense management ecosystem, such as travel agencies, online booking tools, ERP systems, data feeds from different providers, such as the banks or credit card or corporate cards. And this will ensure that the expense management system, again, can centralize all the information, all the data, and all the processes related to end-to-end expense management. And it goes along with what Lieve mentioned. Having an expense management solution harmonized will become the central hub and will provide a holistic view of the total expenditure of the company managed through the expense management solution, regardless of the form of data, regardless of the source. Again, trying to ensure that with that information, harmonized approach, you can start reporting and analyzing spending trends, spending behavior, reinforcing your expense policies, etc., etc. The second thing, we're taking as a foundation that the expense management tool is a central hub. And with this concept, again, with a harmonized approach, we can ensure that we can minimize the silos between the expense management process, meaning there will be data in certain parts or in certain tools of the company or in other systems. Having this central hub, we will ensure that there is data consistency and accuracy across all the different platforms. Again, to provide a real holistic view and empower the organizations to take strategic decisions when it comes to expense management. And last but not least, and I'm thinking in a really use case when integrated with ERP systems, we can ensure that the data is standardized and it will be easier to interconnect with other systems for reporting capabilities and for data exchange. I have seen in different implementation projects and as well in product development initiatives that we have that in one moment, if an expense management system is not harmonized, later on it will be harder to integrate with another system, to report data, to change data. And this is where our companies or our clients face a lot of challenges when trying to maximize the usage of the tool. Overall, again, it's a business benefit and a real added value looking forward into the future. And especially now that the information is key and is money. If we can empower, if the companies can achieve this, they can be empowered to take actual strategic decisions by managing properly the expense management flow.
Thank you very much, Andrés. And I will admit, so I've been also at Mobilexpense for a while, and I have also experienced firsthand when I was working in projects and so on, where there have been issues with customers where the data was not harmonized, and it was a big, let's say, work at the end of a period to consolidate, to collect all the information. So very good insights. Lieve, just back to you. So when we started, I know that over the decade you've worked with many customers and you've built, let's say, a good rapport with them, but you've also collected a lot of best practices for harmonizing and so on. Could you expand on those a bit?
Yes, of course. So there are some points that should be taken into account when you want to harmonize your approach in Mobilexpense. Sorry. It's important that you have a clear vision on where you want to go to, what you want to achieve, and why. Is there a clear business need? And once you have decided that you want to initiate an initiative to harmonize, our consultancy team can help you performing an audit and defining the gaps between the current situation and the to-be situation. Then you also have, you need to have a capable team and put a good governance in place. From experience, it really helps when you have a centralized approach, which means that the same project team is responsible for the whole rollout. This way you can build a strong governance, but also build a good knowledge of your tool, the way your tool is set up in Mobilexpense. And the strong governance makes it also easier to assure that all setups stick to the standard solution. It's also easier to engage the supplier to create together a good template that can be used for all the entities. Apart from the team and the vision, it's also important to have a feasible roadmap with clear deadlines and milestones to have a successful outcome. In addition, you can also appoint an executive sponsor who can help or who can make decisions, and an escalation process should also be put in place. From experience, the executive sponsor is really useful in a case of escalation, and if local business are asking something additional, he's also the person who could make the decision, yes, we do this, or we don't do this. So we have already roadmap, vision, and the team. And then we also have the change management approach that should be taken into account. So it's important that you create or build awareness, address issues and concerns, inform and train employees so that they can accept and adapt easily to the changes brought by the harmonized application. Another point which is really helpful is to not overcomplicate the blueprint. If you have already a process in place, please review it, check if all the steps that are there are really needed, or if you can make it more simple, and this will also lead to a better acceptation by the employees.
Thank you very much. So these are really good best practices, Lieve. Are there any of them that you've seen maybe more difficult to implement some of these best practices from your experience?
There can be resistance to the harmonized approach, for example, for several reasons. It can be that some entities are using another system and they want to keep using that, or they are still doing everything on paper and they want to stick to their current workflow, then it's important to inform the stakeholders, guide the local entities to align with what is agreed in the blueprint, show them the benefits. So it's actually promoting the standard solution internally, and that really helps. Yeah. Another point, so I mentioned already a clear vision. So it could happen that the customer doesn't have a clear vision, or that the vision is not clear enough, so that in the end they don't realize what they wanted to achieve. The team was mentioned before, so it can happen that somebody, or a key person in the team, leaves or is being replaced, and that can lead to loss of knowledge. And then the new people might influence the existing team, and all these things can have an impact on the rollout process. So it's important that you put a strong governance in place and a strong approach to keep a strong change approach, sorry, to get all, or to keep all the noses in the same direction.
Great. Thank you very much for that. And these are really good points that we need companies or customers who are looking to harmonize or standardize probably need to take it into consideration. Anders, how do you see, let's say, harmonizing an expense management processes within expense management system contribute to let's say, a more integrated ecosystem?
Okay, harmonizing your expense management process in your expense management tool, in this case, yes, Mobilexpense, will ensure, of course, like we have been discussed, in standardizing expense categories. This is a really clear use case that we see from our clients. Second, expense policies and workflows. And with this standardization, we can ensure at least certain level of compatibility when integrated with key systems or applications of the ecosystem of the expense management spectrum, such as banks or corporate card providers, or even VAT reclaim agencies, which is, I think, one of the solutions that we provide as well to our clients when it comes to return or recover their investment from their operations. First of all, this fosters, again, an integrated ecosystem, and ensuring, first of all, that the data is crystal clear, accurate, in order to start, how should I say it, thinking about expense reporting. I see that a lot of our clients, after the implementation of an expense management solution and then later on integrated, they're having the big question, okay, how can I start reporting on this? And having a standardized approach will ensure that reporting can happen, enabling companies to have a proper control and proper decision making for all the expenses that are coming within the expense management system, and of course integrated with other systems. That's one thing. The second thing, by integrating with ERP systems, which again is a clear use case that we have in our industry, we can enable operational efficiency. There is a lot of challenges when we see clients trying to integrate with different ERP systems, especially in the rollout phase, as Lieve mentioned, because there are discrepancies across the entities, increasing the time to implement integration or even testing the integration and check the variations. So again, a harmonized approach will ensure that there is an operational efficiency, minimizing the maintenance cost, implementation cost, and integration cost, and ensuring that, again, your employees can focus on what really matters, doing their tasks while they let the expense management system and the integrations do their magic, automate as much as possible the expense management flow. And the last topic that I see is standardized data. Having that exercise, harmonizing your expense management process, will ensure that there is accuracy in data, standardized data, and it will be easier later on to integrate with other systems or continue the supply chain in the expense flow. What do I mean in this case? For example, VAT reclaim agencies. Every VAT reclaim agency will start asking to those clients, I need to have a clear information about your expenditure, the type of data that you have, and even the images. And we have noticed as well in the past, when integrated with this type of partners, by the lack of harmonization in the customer group in this case, they lost opportunities in terms of reclaiming VAT because there is no data standardized, there is no process standardized, there is no any expense policy standardized across the dates. So this will bring again more opportunities to recover revenue by the business operations of the clients, and of course, ensuring that there is a proper interoperability between applications. The most, how should I place it? The more effort you put in standardizing your system, taking the best advantage of your expense management system, the easier it will be later on to integrate to generate more value and have a complete integrated expense management ecosystem.
Yeah, that's great, Andrés. And you mentioned some good points here, because there's a real and strong business case to be made for harmonizing. So we don't just go and harmonize for the sake of harmonizing, but really to say, okay, we can have a better return on investment on the VAT reclaim, or by having more efficiencies, we can bring in automate with more standardization. We can become more efficient by having more control automation, which would then allow us or allow an organization to say, well, maybe I can free up some staff who is doing certain controls to do some other value added things. So these are great reasons why I think it's important. And I'm just being conscious of time, so I think we need to move on a little bit, and we want to talk about a real life case study that you worked on, Lieve, and maybe share the insights there.
Yes, indeed. So we have a case study from a rollout project we did with an international customer. It's a European headquartered company with over 150 entities all over the world. They wanted to have a standard global expense solution that would fit all their needs and all their entities, so it could be rolled out easily. They performed an audit and they realized they were working in different ways regarding travel and expense management. There were different workflows, different approval flows, deviations in limits, different tools that they were using, or even still a paper workflow in place. They also had no automation in place, and the entities were even using different versions of the same ERP system. So what did they do? The management came together to define a vision for the standardization, and they also invited Mobilexpense to help realizing this. So we defined teams on both sides and organized together a workshop where we listened to the customer's needs, and we advised them how those requests can be handled and what we see as a best practice in Mobilexpense. Mobilexpense was just a small part in their standardization, so it was not. They didn't have only a vision for Mobilexpense, but they had a global vision for several of their tools that they wanted to standardize, and Mobilexpense was just a small part of it. But of course, we just did the Mobilexpense part. And so apart from advising them on how to approach things for the expense management, we also started or we installed a strong governance together with regular meetings to make sure that the things remained on track. They also had a senior executive sponsor appointed, and a clear escalation path was defined. Change management was also an important aspect where we supported the customer by providing trainings, documentation, helping them when they had questions, and so on. And together we defined a clear blueprint with a set of categories, expense policies and rules, a global accounting file template, like Andrés mentioned. And now they also have an automated process in place to keep their master data up to date in Mobilexpense. And they also pick up automatically the accounting files that we deliver, and they load them also in an automated way in their ERP system. So it's not just the configuration in Mobilexpense, but it's also all the data feeds and the additional things that are coming, like Andrés mentioned. So this way, if everything is aligned, the rollout goes smoothly. And the good thing is that they also had an internal sponsor in place who was really giving demos to the local people or the local business, which also assures a fluent acceptation of the tool, of course. Yeah, no, that was it. Sorry, Michael.
And I'm familiar with this case, so I can also say that the results the customer saw was that they had faster rollouts. As you mentioned, they were able to bring in automation. They had very satisfied customers because every time the customer did an internal survey, we was getting very positive reviews from the users. And the customer actually demonstrated that they were able to save a lot because they had better reporting, better insights, and so on. But Lieve, just coming back on before we end the case study, were there any pitfalls that we had to be wary of when we were going through this project?
Yes, so they had a strong vision in place, but if that wouldn't be there, so if the vision is not clear and then the local business and the project team don't know in which direction they have to go to achieve a harmonized solution. But yeah, if that's the case, our consultancy team is very happy to help you with defining a vision and put a process in place. Yeah, so they had this internal sponsor in place who was convincing, who was really doing the demos for the local business, and yeah, convince the local people as well of the advantages of those blueprint. But yeah, without that, it would have been probably more difficult. Also, lack of leadership can influence as well the rollout, because a good leader can provide the necessary resources and give also the necessary push to get things done and to get changes done. So there as well, a good change management can help to overcome some of those pitfalls and convince the local entity and in the end, yeah, the users or the employees, yeah, to adapt to the tool. And yeah, if everything goes smooth, you always have happy employees.
Indeed. But it's just good to be aware that they are pitfalls, things for us to be aware of. So at this section, I would say we have come to, let's say, the end of our webinar, specific webinar, and then we'd like to open the floor to questions. We did receive some questions earlier when some people registered and they had sent us some questions, but before I'll go through those, I will see if there are any questions coming in the Q&A section. Okay, so let's take a look at some questions that we have, and I think there's one participant or a registry, someone who registered, sent us a question. Does your company sector, or does a company sector determine the way forward? So let's say, do you have a different approach for someone in the medical or pharmaceutical environment versus an industrial environment, manufacturing?
Well, it doesn't matter from which sector the customer is. We can always define a blueprint, but of course the blueprint for a company in the pharmaceutical sector will be different than a company that is situated in the logistic sector, because there are some specifics for pharmaceutical companies that needs to be added from a legal point of view. And okay, I mentioned that legal things are more or not in the blueprint, but some legal things are just global and can be added, of course, to the blueprint.
Andrés, do you have anything to add to this one, or?
No, I fully agree with Lieve.
Okay,
it doesn't
great.
matter the industry. However, each company or customer group will have different needs, and every case will be pretty much treated as one single case.
We have another question that came in from someone who registered earlier, and I think you'd answered that question while you were talking, but I'll raise it anyway. It says, from your experience, is it important that harmonizing the project is driven by someone from management, so there's a sponsor at a higher level of management? Maybe that seems to be a trend. I see several questions on that. Maybe you can elaborate a bit more on that, Lieve and Andrés.
Yeah, like I mentioned, it's important to have somebody from the management that is supporting this harmonized approach, because then he has more power to push things forward and to get the necessary resources for the project.
And then if I may add on that one, this person and ensuring that it's part of management will ensure that all departments are pretty much aligned in terms of the decision making and onboarding them into being part of the harmonization process. We see, especially in the implementation phase, that there are individual agendas depending on the department that you're talking. And let's be honest, when you're implementing an expense management solution, you're talking with IT department, you're talking with the finance department, with the HR, or even the travel department. Ensuring that there is a proper governance at management level will ensure that all these departments can be aligned to ensure that the process and the harmonization can go as smoothly as possible. And later on, will minimize all the back and forward project management, maintenance, and decision making in the future.
Absolutely, and I think it's also good that there's like one ultimate decision maker for where deviations need to be decided on, and there's one person who can do that. So I don't see many questions coming in the Q&A, but we do have a couple more questions here from people who registered. One question is, how would you measure the success of the harmonization effort in an expense management?
Well, there are different ways or different topics on how you can measure it. So I think the easiest one is already the time that you save on it. So you can check if the time from start to end of the rollout of one entity is already shorter than before. Of course, you can also check time that the user spends in the application is less, and not just the user, but the transaction, let's say, from creation to submission and in the end the settlement that you can save. And based on that, you can also measure the cost that you're saving on that. When you're using a tool, you can also, or it's also easier to reduce fraud and misuse of categories or rules, or having workarounds to get what you need. So that's also something that you can control more, and where you can save money as well. And like Michael said, you can measure the employee satisfaction as well, because in that case study that we had, the customer had on a yearly basis, they had they sent a survey to the employees, and asking to rate the tools, the IT tools that they are using. And in the case of our case study, Mobilexpense was on the first or the second position every time. So that's indeed also a way that you can measure.
So I would also say, and we do that in consulting as well, we would take a baseline before we actually start any initiative and so on, where we measure, okay, what's the current performance? And then after, let's say they've gone through the change, so the harmonization, then we measure, we take these same parameters and we measure again, what are the efficiencies? Do we see things going fast, like you said? Are we being able to consolidate and generate our reports much faster? How are we able to automate things, different processes, bring in more technology, so whether it's AI and machine learning and so on. So there are these things, and then you can then measure the delta, and then we will see what's the gap. Okay. So we don't have any more questions, and I don't see any questions in the Q&A. So let's go ahead and end it here. I would like to thank you, Lieve and Andrés, for joining today. This has been very insightful, and I hope for the audience as well. And I wish everyone who joined us today, I'd like to thank you all and wish you a pleasant afternoon or morning or evening, wherever you are in the world. Okay. Yeah. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Yes, bye.